Can you see me?
Well, I can see a camera,
Hold on a minute.
but I don't know if that's you or just your alter ego.
Oh, there we go.
Ah!
Hello. Did I mute you?
Hmm?
I thought I muted you, so I didn't. So anyway.
No, I just don't have my volume turned up enough.
Oh, hold on.
Now I can.
All right. Hey, Pat, how are you doing?
Good,
Good.
Hey,
good, good.
hey, Pat.
Hi, Mike.
Some people are dinging me. I don't know why they're dinging me, but we will see. Y'all doing okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Are y'all
Yep.
liking the challenges that's coming up every day? Have y'all been seeing those?
Yeah, I think I did a texture one today.
Good.
Y'all missed a good event this weekend.
Do what?
You missed something good this weekend.
What is it?
Well, did you see the picture of the lady standing with the horses?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes, I did.
Well, that was at an event for the little general. She's the one that I posted the other day that was working with her little dolly.
Yeah.
Who died. They had a big event to celebrate her life. And so I went to that, and it was one of the biggest, I think about the biggest reenactment I've been to, although a lot of wonderful people there. I think I enjoyed the people as much as I did the taking pictures. Although I did, I'm afraid, overdo it. I walked about 6 hours. And today I'm still a little bit wore out.
Yeah, I'm ready for things to get back to normal.
Well, I hope I don't get normal because I haven't been normal in years.
You might scare us. I
What?
wouldn't.
Oh, no.
I don't know what that would mean.
Yeah.
Might be
Normal is not a
normal.
lot. Yeah, that's not a lot of fun. I tried being normal once. It was the worst hour of my life.
Well, Pat, what do you have fun going on?
Well, my daughter is renovating her entire kitchen. So they've been living over here. It'll be 9 days. I'm about ready to lose my mind.
Yeah, we're about to start that project too, hopefully, as soon as we get an estimate. We have 2 bathrooms and a kitchen den.
To do? They're going to renovate it?
Yes.
Oh, my word. I mean, she's doing cabinets, flooring, countertops.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to have somewhere to live. I mean, because you can't live in the mess.
Well, we're going to live in the mess, but
Oh, boy.
it'll be okay. I mean, he says it won't take long, but who knows?
Just so you got a path to the bathroom. That's.
Yeah, we have 2. We have a bath and a half, so hopefully they can knock out the bathroom pretty quick, and then we can move on to the kitchen.
Are they both in the backyard or one of them up front?
Well, one's in the front, one's in the back. So we have dual bathrooms. I'm gonna take this bite, and I don't mean to take a bite in front of you.
Okay, so when we start the meeting, we're going to not see us, right? We're just going to see Butch.
Right.
Correct?
So yes. So we're gonna all turn off our cameras and
Okay.
mute our microphones, and then we will then I'll introduce Butch, and then he will show us the screen.
Okay, great. Great. 'Cause I'll be eating dinner.
I know, that's why I'm trying to finish my soup real quick. So hey, Cindy, how are you doing?
Hanging in there. How are y'all?
We're good. I'm so glad you can join us in this virtual zone. See, we're having people join us that don't normally join us for like real meetings, you know. So that so I mean, it's pretty exciting.
Well, I think the neatest thing is that you can get speakers now from anywhere virtually in the world.
exactly.
And it works out so nice.
Well, let's say one of the speakers that we're having for November, I think she lives in New York. And then another one lives in, two of them live in Texas. So, you know, we're just getting all over.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Although personally, I would rather be able to be with the people, but maybe we ought to add this as a second meeting, if nothing else. Have our meeting and be with each other, but then have another meeting online when you can come up with a speaker.
Yeah, I agree. And that's what I'm kind of doing is just putting them into place. Like when I can get somebody and if they say, oh, well, the second Tuesday is not good for me, then I'll just say, well, when is good for you? Because we will just let you have whatever time. You know, just tell me when and I'll get it on the book. So it'll help. Let's see, got Butch and Jim.
Well, I see Butch is getting here.
Yeah. And Jim Martin. Hey, Butch, how are you? I think you're muted.
He's muted.
How does that?
Good. That sounds good.
All right. So,
I'll get your face on here too.
oh, maybe I saw it. Let me put on these are my normal glasses. These are my computer glasses. A few years ago, I had my optometrist actually write me a prescription for arm's length, single vision glasses. Went and bought a $40 pair at Walmart. So how do I share screen? Is this it right?
Down at the bottom, it's green, and it. Let me. Yeah, I just fixed it. So it should be green. It's right in the middle at the bottom.
Yeah, I see it. Let's see what happens. If I do that, then I can share that screen. You can see that then, right?
Yes, we could see the gentleman in the uniform.
Yeah, in the uniform. The problem is I cannot see any of my tools over here on the right in Photoshop.
Yeah, when we start, everybody's gonna close out their video, so all these will go away.
Okay, and I think if I hit that little bar, hide thumbnail video. Okay, I got that. Okay, so you are going back to my stop share, and now I'm back online, right?
Yes.
Okay, but I don't see me.
Well, your video's off, I think.
Oh,
yes.
let me start video. There I am. I want to do that so my head would actually be in the screen.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like sharing video of myself, but anywho, that's a whole nother therapy session.
So we're supposed to start in 4. Is the audio good? I'm wearing this cheap headphones.
It sounds
Very
great
good.
on mine. Everybody, can y'all hear good?
Yes.
That's good here.
We're gonna give it a few more minutes, about 4 minutes, and let others join if they
All right.
are coming, if that's okay. So is this your first virtual Zoom? Butch?
Well, I did a Zoom doctor's appointment one time.
You did a what?
A Zoom doctor's appointment
Oh,
on my cell phone. But that's the only other Zoom I've ever done.
my doctor's probably about 80 years old, and he tried to do the tele appointment when it first started,
Yeah.
back in March. And he tried like 3 times, and he couldn't get it to work. So he hung up and called my house phone. He just said, "I'm done."
No.
with you."
It's so funny. I had developed some rash on my legs. I wanted to see the doctor about, and I'm out on the front porch, so I have good light, holding my phone and zooming around on my legs and stuff. So.
Oh, that's funny. Reminded me, I had to talk to a doctor about my toe. So I'm showing my toe.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great. I don't have to come in.
Yeah, I'm not sure he could tell what I had though from that. I finally am going to see the dermatologist a few weeks later. It's just some psoriasis, no big deal. But anyway,
I do like telehealth appointments because I don't have to leave my house. I could just, I prefer those actually, but
yeah.
I'm not sure how well they work. So, Marilyn, hello everyone. She's watching, and she's watching the UAB game also.
Oh, okay.
She
Get your priorities straight.
Yeah, she's gonna keep her eyes on both. Okay. So we still have some folks joining. So we got 2 more minutes, and then we'll
All right.
start. But
Yeah, cool.
it's really been good for the club, Butch, because we normally, some of the speakers that we get, we haven't had access to before. We had a gentleman come from the West, and he did focus stacking for us. And
Oh, yeah.
interesting. And then just some different people that around the country that we wouldn't be able to get normally to come to.
Who did the focus stacking?
Who did it?
Yeah.
God, his name was Matt something. And
Okay. No, I don't.
he works for Country Out. They're one of the companies that does tourism out there. And
I see.
he did a real good job explaining, and that was one of the first ones we did, wasn't it, Mike? Did you get to see that one?
No.
No. I know you're more of a people person.
Well, I've been following this photographer named Adam Gibbs, and he's talked about focus stacking. So he's in British Columbia, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's really good.
Well, I'm going to try it when I find my tripod. Cindy, I thought I found it at the, somebody posted that they had one at Irondale Police Department, so I went there. It wasn't mine. But I did meet some funny officers, though, and look at their camera equipment, all that good stuff.
Well, that's good.
A lot of y'all know Jeff Newman. And one day a group of us were out shooting, and Jeff wanted to take a group shot, and the only thing we could find was a big tractor tire to put his camera up on. And I said, Jeff, you've invented the tire pod, man.
Jeff is fun. He is going to be our featured artist at the Genesis Gallery for next month and the next month. So trying to get him to cull his pictures down to 24. I think last night he sent me a message, maybe at 12 o'clock at night or sometime, and he's going, I'm just thinking about this.
Are you going to be doing his underground stuff or what?
Actually, we're going to do industrial Birmingham, just
Okay.
more like Sloss and that sort of thing.
Yeah, Jeff's good at that stuff.
Yes, and I thought it would be interesting for the folks to see the progression and just his take on. He has a very unique perspective of things, so I thought he would be a good choice to show his work. But it is 6:31, so we're going to go ahead and start. And I'll continue to let people in as they come in, as they ask to enter the room. So I thank y'all for coming. So we do have Butch Oglesby here, and he is the owner of Blue Moon Photography. We've had him here a couple of times to talk about Photoshop, and he showed us how to utilize textures in some of his photos, which gives it a very unique look. And I wanted to ask Butch if he could come and talk to us and show us how to do that on our virtual meeting, so that we could be aware and we could really start looking for those textures and how to incorporate those into some of our images. So I'm gonna, if you don't mind, just mute your phone and turn off your video. And so Butch will be able to see his screen, and I'm gonna go ahead and let him get started. Is that okay? Are you ready, Butch?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Now, Tina, you're going to jump in with questions when they are needed, right?
Yes, sir. So if you have a question, just go ahead, and if you type it under the chat bar, I will make sure Butch is aware of that question. Okay? So, all right. Well, we're going to turn it over to you, Butch, if you want to go ahead and share your screen.
Okay. Well, let's. What do I share this screen? I want to talk a minute before we show anything.
I'm sorry.
Okay, because what I want to do is address the whole concept of what textures are. I don't even know if everybody really understands what they are, but it's basically laying a picture on top of your picture and blending it together. And somehow that depends on how well you do it, or the right choice. It can look like a painting almost. It really makes a normal blah photo into a piece of art almost immediately. It's pretty interesting how it works. It's I call it the quick way to fine art. Now I'm going to go ahead now, and I am going to share the screen. I just did the wrong thing here. Share screen right here, And I want to share this screen. Oh, what do I do to make that share here? Share. I see. I'm learning, guys. All right, here we are in the shared screens, and I want to go to my, I should have brought this up already, my desktop, to some pictures that I have here. And these are some of the textures. Let me just make this full screen if I can. Can you see that? That's an old airplane with a texture laid on it, just a very simple picture. Now that one's too close. A picture out the window of the Alabama Theater, and if you notice up here in the sky, it's got the kind of the interesting features to it. There's the Alabama top of the sign. Let me zoom in, and so you can see some of those textures. That's not on the sign. That's stuff we added later, and that's the sky behind it. So I thought that was a pretty cool picture. Boat down in Florida. Let me see if I can get this a little more out of the way. There we go. Oyster boat, nice textures added to it. Armadillo in the road, that's got a couple of things going on. It's got a new sky and texture, so we might talk about that a little bit. B-25 bomber out at the Shelby County Airport. It's an old truck, old barn with something in the sky. This was interesting. These guys were playing baseball down in up in Tennessee one time. We were up there in Townsend and saw these guys and went over and just watched them a while and came home and thought, well, just in a regular picture out of the camera, it just looks so modern and everything, but by putting the texture on it and doing a little blurring and all that, it really, really helped it. The feel of it looking really old. Bridge over in Germany, and this is a guy I saw at one of the Civil War reenactments, and these are just plates in a window at the shop. This is Old Car City. I know a lot of you have been there, and you've probably taken pictures of this very Cadillac right here. So we'll talk about this later, but the texture that I used over it is actually from a rusty door that I saw at that place. So that's where I made that texture from. Me looking through an old camera. This is, of course, everybody knows Electra. This is the only one I think I have that's a before and after. This was the truck on the side of the road, and that's what I did with it. New Orleans, barbed wire, church down in, it's called Pine Flat, and it's in down near Wetumpka somewhere. That's the guy, the Civil War guy. This was in the old Lear Tower, TJ Towers, before they renovated it. And that's that same old rusty car door with some trees. Turtles. Oh, let me go slow down here. Everybody asked me about this picture. They say, is that lightning real? And I say, yeah, it just didn't happen there. So Vulcan again, different texture. So that's the same Vulcan without the lightning strike that you saw a second ago. This is one of our wedding shots. We used this a lot when we were doing weddings, and we're gonna have to talk about that specifically in a minute. Another wedding shot, some guys at the wedding, another people. This is the side door of the Alabama Theater, another wedding. And those are in alphabetical order, the reason they all showed up as weddings. So I want to talk a minute about, let me see here. Let me stop sharing the screen. And, well, you can still see me over there, I assume. What software do I use? I use exclusively Photoshop. What we're looking at now is Bridge. And I know a lot of people do it differently. I like Bridge. If you do the monthly subscription, you get Bridge with Photoshop. And Bridge is basically just this software here that lets me view pictures. I can sort and organize them. If I scroll this thing up here, I can see all about all the details on the picture, how many, all there is about it. So I really like Bridge, and I like the fact that Bridge works in conjunction with Photoshop. You just double click a picture in Bridge, it opens it in Photoshop.
Hey, Butch,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you're out and about, what kind of, is it just any kind of texture or any kind of colors that kind of just catch your eye?
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute. I promise you I'll cover that in a few seconds.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Anyway, just want to let people know, use Photoshop, and all this can be done in Elements. I just don't know Elements very well, or I would try to show you that on the screen. All the functions are the same. They're just found in a different place on the screen. So I thought right now, let's go apply few textures. So I want to go here and find something very simple, like something that might show up. I put a few pictures in the file, and I thought I had one in my mind before I started this. Well, this one, let's do this tree here. First thing, this will open up. I don't use, no, you're not sharing that screen, are you? I have to share a different screen. How do I do that? Share, stop share, new share. I want to share this, I suppose. All right, are you seeing the Photoshop screen?
Yes.
Okay, let me open up the picture I wanted to open up to show you its share on it. Open that and bring my picture into Photoshop. Okay, this is just a tree that we saw up in the Smokies. I've already done some editing to make it dark and pretty in the sky and everything. Now what we got to do is go find a texture that we think we might like. And the problem is I don't think you're going to follow me. I'm going to go back to Bridge. And you didn't, did you go back with me to Bridge?
Now we're at Bridge. Yes.
Are you seeing Bridge? Okay, because I want to go, I have a folder here called Grunge. When I was introduced to this, that's what we called it, Grunge. And that's what I still call them a lot. And in here, I have a bunch of them. I'm just going to grab one quickly and randomly. And this is one, it may not show. Let's do this one. This is one I shot at, that's a concrete wall at the BJCC. I'm going to rotate it around so it's got the same orientation as my picture. And then here's the critical part for me. There's a lot of ways to get this on top of your picture, but recently I've learned that if you right click it in Bridge and say place in Photoshop, it drops it on top of your picture. So now you just stretch it, and don't worry about distorting it because it's just a texture. It's not going to matter. Stretch it to the corners of your image. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Now I'm back again. All right, we got to go back and do this again.
That's very helpful. I didn't know that you could do that.
I have just learned this. Before, I would open up the both of them, and I would do on the texture, I would say select all, copy, then move to my other picture and do paste. Is that how you would do it?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's the way I've always done it. Brings it in, and when you say okay on it, let me move this. Is this in the way? Can you see my tools?
I can't.
Over here.
Over your tool. I mean,
it was on mine. I just moved it over.
How about right there? Okay.
On my toolbar here, where I have, I always feel like I need to slow down because I know a lot of people are not that proficient at Photoshop. What I'm doing here is layers, and I've got my basic picture on my bottom layer, which you can see right here, and I've added my texture on top of it, just laid it on top of it. Now, the magic part is up here, this little bar, if y'all can see where I'm pointing, it says normal right now. Those are what they call blend modes. It says over there, set the blending mode for the layer. So I click that. The mode that I like the best is called overlay, and you'll see instantly it overlaid on my picture, that texture. And that's really the very basic part. Overlay and soft light are the two that I use the most, the two blend modes I use the most, depending on which one gives me the effect that I'm looking for. And what I like to explain to people all the time is sit down and try every texture you can think of and see if it works for that picture. So that's the simple way to do it. Let me see if we can do another one real quick here. Let's go back to our images and scene from the Smokies. Bring that into the computer. And then go back to Bridge and go back to my grunge folder. That's not my grunge folder. My grunge folder is here. And go down and let's pick Let's pick something from close to home. Bessemer. How about that? Something rusty from Bessemer. Right click it and say place in Photoshop. Something else to show you here is, let me put that up in the corner and just drag it to this corner. If you'll notice over here on my bar, do you see that little symbol right there? It brought it in as what they call a smart object. Are y'all familiar with that?
I'm not.
A smart object in Photoshop is, you can take the picture down real small, the layer down real small, you can expand it, and it won't lose any of its pixels until you rasterize it. Where that comes in handy, this is not on this tonight's subject, but where that comes in handy is if you were laying out a layout like a poster and you wanted to have multiple images around your poster, but you really don't know what size you want to make them. And if you make them real small and then click OK, and then you make them big again, they pixelate. They won't do that if they're smart objects.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you.
Smart objects will slow you down though, because they've got a lot more memory involved in them. So one thing you can do is right here, after you bring it in, you get it where you want it, right click on the word, and up here it'll say rasterize, and now it's no longer a smart object.
Oh.
So let's just go soft light, and there's the Smoky Mountains with that. Now, you might not like the color it brings in. In fact, lately, my newest thing lately is I don't really like the color. So right here, you can right click on your image. No, I'm trying to find, I know all the shortcuts. I'm trying to find, I want to edit with this with hue and saturation. Does anyone know where that is? Edit, transform, that's not it. Anyway, it's Control U.
Go to image,
Image,
yeah, and then down one notch. to
okay,
adjust.
adjustments, there it is. See, I never use that because see right there, it says Control U. I've got that memorized. I just always hit Control U and it brings up the control and saturation bar just for that layer. And I want to remove all the color from that layer. So now it's more of a gray. Before it was this, now it's this. So that's a couple of real simple ones. Is there any questions on what I'm doing so far?
I know I have tried to do this in the past, and
Yeah.
I visited Joe, is it Mentors, African Village, and I took some photos there, and I tried to incorporate a texture on some of those images, but I guess I didn't blend it right. So I'm going to go back and see if I can try some of those.
So to me, the two that I use almost all the time, as far as blend modes go, is the what's called overlay and soft light. The others will also do things, and maybe we'll step through that next time and see how they're going. Okay, this thing is in my way here. Let's get it.
Oh, let me move it again. Sorry.
You know, if I do that, there you go. That helps me a lot. Let's go back and find us in. The next thing I want to do is what makes a good texture. A lot of my textures. Let me see here. Where do I find them? I have 2 bullet points here. What makes good texture and where do you get them from? Let me just first say, I steal a lot of textures offline. I just find something I like and I use it. You can type in photo overlays and you'll come up with a lot of interesting things like this, perhaps, this. These, to me, most of these are not good textures. Now, I actually shot that one. That's some rusty steel that I shot, photographed. That's same thing, some more rusty steel plate. That's I think it's some concrete with a crack in it. So those are textures that I like. What makes the best textures to me have got more, 2 of them, like this right here. See how it's got a lot of little textury things there?
Mm-hmm.
And the name of that is called Arby's on my computer, because what that is that's the tabletop of the Arby's restaurant that we were eating in that day. And I just pulled out my little camera and took a picture of it. And that's where I got that from. I have some more, and like I say, I have some called Bessemer here that are rusty metal that I saw. BJCC, this is a concrete wall, another concrete wall. Those to me make pretty good textures. trying to find some that I can just talk about a minute. But as you can see, as I'm scrolling, I have lots and lots of textures. This is one that I shot of just a stucco wall. I rarely use that. I think it's too powerful. It takes away from your image. The texture to me should somewhat kind of go away. Maybe feel like it's in the background. Do anybody here know a local artist named Rick Lazenby? Rick Lazenby likes to do this thing where he takes a canvas and he puts like a plaster on it, then he crackles it all up, and then he paints on it. So before he painted on this one, I took a picture of it. So we use that one sometimes, and it gives you that texture like a.
I know I found some at the Heart of Dixie Railroad Museum.
Yeah.
Out of the rail cars.
This was a work table from Rick where he had just spilt paint everywhere, and I thought it looked awesome, and I've used it several times. So these are the textures. This was a painted wall in a building I was in one day, and somebody had just painted all over the walls. The only thing I did here was I vignetted around the edges to give it a little darker edge. You don't have to do that. You can always do that later when you apply it. This is another one. This is called McDonald's because it was a McDonald's tabletop. And I think that's also, this one was Snowbiz Shaved Ice. Their table had crackles in it, so I photographed it. So that's where a lot of these have come from. And so that's where I get them. It depends on what you're trying to do. Like this is just some paint splatter stuff. And if you're trying to be really kind of what we used to call psychedelic, that makes a pretty good texture. But I'm really more into the ones that look like, where I'm trying to find it here. New Orleans. This is my favorite texture for some reason. And I'm gonna show you how I made this one in a few minutes here. Okay, so what makes good texture? And where do you find them make textures? All right, I want to do some more complex texturing. Well, before that, let me show you here. I've got a couple here that I did today. In fact, somebody from the club today posted one of some gravel just a while ago. I saw it, and he called it textures. And it's so funny because when I was thinking about doing this, I wanted to find some textures. So if you see this one here, I have gravel in my backyard. This is the gravel from my backyard. So let's bring it in and to Photoshop. And you notice I didn't bother cleaning up the leaves or anything. You can take a clone stamp and got my thing set wrong. And just clone out anything you don't like. See, my foot was in the picture here. And honestly, you don't have to be so great with your textures because the idea is they're not the main thing that people see. They're there more for effect. Everybody understand what I'm doing here? Cloning? I assume everybody understands cloning. All right, there's the texture. Let's go find a basic picture that might look good with that texture in it. And that's a pretty heavy texture. I normally wouldn't use one that heavy. Let's put it on this tree here. Open the tree. Okay, let's go back to our texture. Like you say, I would do Control A, which is select all, Control C, which is copy, click back on my other picture and do Control V, which is paste. And it pasted it over that. Now let's see how it blends. If we go in here and do overlay, that's the effect I get. To me, that's a little heavy, but it might be what you're looking for a particular piece.
If you reduce the opacity, what would that look like?
Well, okay, let's do that. Before we reduce the opacity, let's look at it in soft light, which kind of does that, but maybe not as much as you like. Let's go back to overlay. Yeah, reducing the opacity is always something to see about doing. Yeah, as I'm going down the opacity. Yeah, but like I say, I kind of like it actually. All right, now while we got this one up, I've got another one that I made. I've never really done this before. I was outside and I thought, I'm gonna give it a try. And this is, I gotta go back, and I know y'all can't see what I'm doing right now. I am, this is the grass in my backyard. Let's go clone out some of the, try to find a spot my dog hadn't visited. All right, Control A, Control C, Control V. Let's turn off this one. And let's blend this one to overlay. That's a little powerful. Let's try it with soft light. Something like that. Now you can always, see how dark the tree and all has gotten? You can go down to that layer, select that layer, and I hope you know what these are. These are add an adjustment. And that one right there is highlights, what do they call it, levels layer. And I'll just brighten up that bottom layer underneath it. I'm moving these two sliders here to the left. So that brightened up, you turn this on and off, it brightened up the under picture. So that's that. And something else you can do, if you like that texture, you can come in and double that texture on top of it. And so you can stack textures if you want to get different effects. So anyway, that's pretty simple. That's a straightforward way of adding textures. Let's close out some of these things, because I wanted to get into some of the more complex things that we're going to be doing tonight. All right, here's one. I've already done it. You can see over here all my gyrations I went through. And I'm going to turn them all off. Instead of doing this, I'm just going to take you through each layer of what we did. So there's what, let me turn this guy off too. There's what the guy looked like. Now, a lot of people do Civil War pictures and they just turn them black and white, and or maybe sepia. And when you do that, it really doesn't, all it does is just make a black and white picture. Turn on the black and white layer. Still looks like modern day to me. So one of the things I like to do is a selective blur. And it's kind of hard to see it here. It didn't blur it much. Let's do blur a little more. Filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Let's start all over on that. Let me throw that layer away. Y'all know how to make another layer? Just drag it over to what there. So I'm gonna take that layer, I'm gonna go the layer that's on top of the bottom layer, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, 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 blur to about there. Let me zoom in on this guy. He's pretty blurry. He's got a hard layer under him, soft layer on top of him. So you put a layer mask. Does everybody understand layer masking? No questions on that one?
Raise your hand if you don't.
I can't see you, but Tina can. All right, once I got a blurry layer on top of a hard layer and I got a mask, I take a black paintbrush, because that's a white mask, and I start painting it, and see it brings him back. Oh, I also have my flow turned down to like 60. So I can just kind of bring back just a little bit. Already it's starting to look more old timey, because, you know, they had very short depth of field cameras in those days. So I kind of got rid of some of the guys in the background. I thought his eyes were too dark, or something. I brought that up. All right, then I throw on top of that my New Orleans layer that was, and I'm blending it at, let me see what I've got it at. I've got it at overlay at 100%. That added a little texture to him. Then let me throw this one away. I brought in this layer, which looks like this. It's a picture of an old glass plate. So it's just that. So if I'm going to make two of these, I'm going to tell you why in a second. So I'm going to make another one. And I'm going to take the bottom one and we're going to blend it with overlay. Now, I like what it does in a lot of ways, but notice that I lost all my edging. And I'm not crazy about that. So I've got another layer, and stop me if I'm going way too fast. I got another exact layer here that's still normal. I'll put a mask on that layer, get my paintbrush, and start erasing. Oh, I did the wrong one. Let's reverse these then. Let's put this one is normal. This one as overlay. Then when I start doing this, I don't want to erase the edges. I just want to erase the middle. And that's basically it. Yeah. There's where we started. There's our Civil War reenactment photo. Any questions on that one? All right. How do you make layers? I did a thing here where I have over in my grunges some that I've made. I think I got other than just photographing concrete, wallpaper, anything like that, that you think is cool, you want to take it home and try it. I'm sitting here at my kitchen counter and it might make a good layer. It's a quartz that kind of looks like granite. But I got it called it raw material for grunges. And I went and just picked online and I searched for glass plate photos or what do you call those things? Tintypes and things like that. So I downloaded a few of them, and we're going to take one of these in a second, and we're going to make a, well, which one was it I wanted to use? I think it was this one. We're going to make this into a texture. It's going to be really, really, really cool. So let's make a second copy. I always like to work on the second copy, not the main one. Now, if you take something like this lasso tool and circle this guy maybe about here. Now, does everybody know what content aware fill is? The shortcut for it is Control F5, at least it used to be. Well, maybe we have to go up here under Edit, Fill. We don't want to do fill, we want to do content aware fill. Content aware scale. The trouble is I was doing this on my other computer and it has the it has a different menu. This is the older version of Photoshop. Well, we'll do it a different way. We will use the patch tool and we'll take this guy just a little bit at a time and move him over here. Take this and move it over here a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. I'm basically trying to get rid of this guy's face, and that's all I'm trying to do. And that's pretty well got rid of him. Everybody following along with what I just did? Now, down here at the bottom, I don't really like what's going on down there, so I am going to take the what do they call it, rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to select about that much of this picture. Oh, let me take off my feathering. I don't want that. So make it 0 feather. Let's do it again. 0 feather. And select about that much of the tool. And then make a copy of that using Control J. You'll notice that it just copied the top half of the picture. Now I'm going to take that and I'm going to move it down, and holding down the Shift key, I'm going to rotate this around like that. And then I'm going to drop this into the very bottom of my picture and say, okay, apply. Now, you got that line there. There's a couple of ways to get rid of that. The simple one, I usually use a mask, but let's try just the eraser. That big. And I want to just erase a little, but I need a soft edged eraser. So I want my hardness to be 0. I think that's pretty good. And then when we're there, we'll do this and say merge down, or you could use Control E. Now, I think we ought to clone a little bit more of this out of here. So we've got a basic sort of kind of grunge already, but I'm going to make it a little more complicated because I want to go back to my grunges, and I want to get one that I like pretty good. That one I call New Orleans, down in the ends. This one, let's rotate it around and place it on top of this grunge. And kind of drag it out like this so it covers the whole picture. Say, come on, say okay. And let's rasterize it. Now let's put a mask on that. Get our paintbrush, make it 100%, make our paintbrush a little smaller, and start doing a little of this. Now the reason I like to use, and now let's turn the whole thing black and white. Do y'all know what this is? This is the black and white overlay. Turn the whole thing black and white. So now I have all this stuff layered up, stacked up, but I have basically a frame, looks like an old daguerreotype or something, and some stuff on the inside. And when you get done, you say, over here, let me show you, the little bars, there's a part somewhere it says flatten the image. Flatten the image. It says discard hidden layer, yes. All right, let's just leave that on the screen and go back to my pictures. And this is a picture of my granddaughter. And we're going to put her in that frame. I'm going to do Control A, Control C, Control V. Oh, apparently my grunge was way bigger, so I'll just squish it into my picture. And just like we did before, I'm going to make 2 copies of this. And I use Control J. I don't know if everybody else does that or not. And we're going to take this, turn this one off, turn on this layer, and hit overlay. All right. Let's go ahead and put black and white on top of all this so everything becomes black and white. Now see, around the edges, you can see through it. So that's why I put this layer on. Put the mask on it. Everybody see what? Oh, I put 2 masks for whatever reason. Put the mask on it. Get my paintbrush. And come on. Oh, did the wrong. I put the mask on the black and white layer. And then start painting her back in. Again, I like to take her, make a double layer, make her very blurry. And let's go filter, blur. Well, it let me do that. Oh, somehow that's gotten locked. Filter, blur, Gaussian. And that's maybe too much. I like a little detail. Right there, put a layer mask on her. Let's turn our flow way down to there and then start working on her a little bit. So we'll bring out just the haunting of her face, maybe a little bit of her hair. So there she is, all done up. And if you want to, I don't know if you know about black and white layers, when you click on your black and white layer mask, layer thing, you can go up here and click tint. And the default is sepia. You can make it any color you want. You know, if you want to make her, let's say, a bluish tone. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could. And so there she is. So that's a fairly complex one. So let's go through a few more. I'm going to throw her away. Throw that away. I almost hate to throw that away. I think I'll save it. Are there some questions? I
guess
go
I'm
ahead.
missing why I guess I mean I can see why you would do 2 layers of, because you didn't like the border. Is that correct?
That's exactly right, because there's on the layer with the border, I just wanted to erase the middle of it and leave it not blended, just in the normal mode so you could see all around the border. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then the other layer, when I use the blend mode, let's say overlay, the border also blends, and I didn't want the border to blend. I wanted the border to look like the border.
Oh.
That makes, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense.
It kind of does. I think
Yeah.
it'll make more sense once I get in and try to practice.
Okay, I might go through that again in a minute. Let me pull. I'm trying to think. There's one more trick for sure. Well, I got several more, but oh, the New Orleans grunge. Let me touch on that real quick. When we were in New Orleans a few years ago, I saw this painting in a gallery window that so happened the gallery was closed that day, and I took a photograph of the edge of the painting. That's the brush strokes. And I came home and I put that in a, I want to go back to full screen. And I put that in an image, and I just started cloning and moving things around until I ended up with everything looking basically like this area right in here. Just made a lot of layers and clones and just started stacking it up. And then when I got all done, I flattened it out. This one is kind of interesting. I played with this today. I thought this was interesting. It's not a very good picture. It's some fireworks from a few years ago over some water. Bring it up. Ask what makes a good texture is whatever you think makes a good texture in a way, because then I went to my grass and I'm going to place that in. No, I got to rotate it before I can place it. Rotate it. Place this in Photoshop, and it's going to put it right on top of my picture. May overwhelm my picture. No, it fits in there pretty good. Let's just drag the edges out. Let's drag it all the way out so that relief doesn't show. And then when I hit this, I'd never seen it like this before. I thought it was so cool. I don't know if you can see what it's doing to that firework. I thought that was pretty cool. It's just grass, and we could take the grass and maybe make it black and white instead of green. Yeah. Anyway, I thought that ended up being kind of an interesting texture. I'd never tried that one before. Another trick on textures that you got to know is, let me find, this is one I kind of wanted to show you, but I'm not sure it's going to work out as good. Let's try it on this one. Back with her, because she's got a lot of face in the picture. Let's go get a texture that's going to show up really well. Let's try that one. Place it, right click, place, Photoshop. Say, okay, let's go ahead and rasterize it just so it's easier to work with. If we do this, it might look really cool behind her, but look what it does to her face. So you can't just erase it from the face, because then you lose all your color. So the trick that I was taught is you go get your lasso tool, and you give it so many picks of feather. You gotta have some feather to it. And then you just outline your subject, especially if it's a young lady in a wedding dress or something like that. All right, we've selected her, and then you go to Filter, Blur, the Gaussian blur, and see what it does. It blurs out the grunge so much that you can't really see it, but it leaves the same hue and color that was there before. Do I need to go through that one again?
That's what was happening on my African village pictures. As I went through with an eraser, and I tried to erase it over the sculpture or whatever, and it would cause it to be kind of off. So
exactly, the blurring out the only on your grunge layer. Let me turn this back to a regular normal mode. And you see there where it was all, that's where she is in the picture. That's all blurry. So there's no texture, just color there. And so when it's put on top of her, it, you know, it keeps the same thing. The other one I was thinking about using was, because we did this a lot in the wedding days. This is a picture of a girl we did out at the Museum of Flight. Really pretty picture. It's kind of hard to see that small, I'm sure. And then I went and used, let's go back to my grunges, and I'm going to get that New Orleans, my favorite grunge. Oh, not there yet. I don't know my alphabet very well. That's my problem. Place. That thing keeps wanting to come up. And then when we do the overlay, it's pretty cool. It's kind of hard to see on this little screen or on my screen. It's pretty cool what it does to the airplane. See how all the grunges on the airplane there? That's right. And if you don't think it's enough grunge, feel free to double it. Put 2 layers of the same thing. But before we do that, same thing here. How about if I show you another trick on outlining where you want the grunge to get blurred? This is something that I thought was kind of amazing. I'll get a paintbrush, and you see that little thing right there? That little symbol at the bottom that looks like a mask? Click that, and let's make sure we got 100% on our brush. And I start painting over my girl. She starts getting red. And I'm going to do this real quick. So the bride doesn't want her wedding dress to look grungy. So we just paint the whole wedding dress red.
I think they still have that picture on display. The last time I was there, I think it's on display.
Well, I did this for them. They asked, when you get it all painted red, you come back in and you click that little mask again, and you'll notice that it's highlighted. The trouble is this is the part that's selected, so you have to invert your selection, and that's done with Control-Shift-I. And then you can blur her. And we'll go in here, and let's undo the selection. She has grunge. Well, I didn't get her shoulder very good, but she's not grungy. And if we double our layer, it really gets it dramatic. And what you can do, if it's too much, you can like either lower the opacity, or you can change it to have one as soft light and one as overlay. So it's kind of neat how it does that. Anyway, that's how to remove it from the subject. And you're going to want to do that. Nobody really wants a grungy face or a grungy wedding dress or anything like that. All right. I think what we want to do here is look at, I told you earlier we're going to do something about some trees and things. This is I brought in several wedding pictures, but since we've already seen what we're doing there, you don't need that. I have this really cool tree that I photographed out on Highway 22 outside of Montevallo. Why am I having a hard time finding it? I brought it up a while ago. That one. You probably can't see what I'm doing here, but I am, because I am in, Camera Raw right at the moment. So this will open it on up in Photoshop. And now what I'm going to do now is not a texture, but it's what do they call that when you put two together? Compositing, which is what texturing is basically compositing. So we'll get that, and I have this really cool sunset here. And this sunset was shot off of Mount Cheatham several years ago. Control A, Control C, close that out. I don't want it anymore. And I'm going to paste it on top of this. And I'm going to hit the blend mode of overlay. And then I'm going to take this thing, going to make a really small picture and make it huge. And basically drop it in right behind my tree. So we got this giant sunset behind my tree. And the sun doesn't go below the horizon, right? So you can take your little blend, your little patch tool and get rid of that part of the sun. And if you want to crop in to give it a little more drama. Uh-oh. Bring it in like that. So we got this giant there. Now, I tell you what, I used overlay, but I don't normally use overlay in this kind of picture. This is where you get to playing with all your others. We're going to step down these and see what they do. There's normal. And let's see if I can go to dissolve. Darken. Darken's pretty cool. Multiply. A lot of people like multiply. I'm not crazy about it. Color burn. I'm using my down arrow key to just step through these. Darken. The one I'm going to like is probably something called pen light or something like that. Linear dodge, slider color, overlay, soft light, hard light, vivid light, linear light, pen. I don't like pen light. Anyway, you can see all the different effects you get just by stepping through these. Some of these really might appeal to some people trying to do something really creative. Maybe it's darker color that I'm liking. Darker color, no. That was kind of dramatic. That's called linear burn. And if you can see what it does to the tree. Now, what looks really cool, in my opinion, not just the sun, let's try it with the moon. Now, everybody goes out and photographs the moon when it's full moon. I just go to the NASA website.
That's what I'm gonna do.
And let me go back to that. Instead of doing what I did, let's right click, place, Photoshop. Okay. Okay. Rasterize it again. Now let's do some blend modes here. Start with normal, down one, down one. Oh, that's weird. You know what? That one right there, that's called multiply. Actually does look pretty cool. If we put multiply here and we move their moon up a little bit, and maybe we made it a little less opaque so you can see a little bit through it. And here's what I like is cool. You know the little paintbrush, the little bucket thing? Trying to find it on here. Where's the bucket? What's it under? Where you pour stuff in? Not that one. Not that one. Does anybody know where the bucket is? On my other computer, it's under here, under the newer version of Photoshop. Well, this is
Look
bad.
under you and see if it's over there and hasn't been activated.
Where is that? Up under view or
view.
window?
I don't know, one of the two. Take your pick, I'm easy.
I think it's this one. Let's see here, characters.
I'm just guessing.
No, it should be over here. It should be like a second tier down on one of these things, like not that one, not that one, not that one. Ah, that one. Paint bucket tool. If you go over here and hold down your Alt key and select that, and then go up here, you can make your whole thing black. Well, wait a minute. Now let's do it. Pour it in, so it's all black. Now let's do a little bit of our see-through, and then we'll get our patch tool. Why is it telling me I can't do this? I can do this. My mouse is not cooperating is what's that. And we'll just move that up here to the black or down here to the ground. That's not good, Lois. So let's do it with the cloner. So now we have a giant moon setting behind our tree using in this case, we use the blend mode of multiply. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, that's pretty much what we're going to do here. We can take a texture if you want. I've done this before. Let's pull up 2 of them. One that's pretty much nothing. Let's just call that one it. And let's go get another one that has a lot of color in it. Like this one. And we'll place it on top of that last one. So now I've got 2 textures stacked together. And what I do, I like this texture, but I like this color. I just go down here and hit blend mode of color. And it took the color from the top one and applied it to the bottom one, but didn't change the texture of it. So that's something you want to do. Just a lot of experimentation and learning how to do things and playing with things. So.
Awesome.
All right.
All right, guys, if you want to unmute yourself and if you have a question for Butch, we have about 5 minutes left. If that's okay with you, Butch.
I've got all the time you want. I'm just trying to figure out how to get back where I can see people. Is it participants? No. Stop share?
Stop share.
Okay. There we are.
There you are. So does anybody have any questions for Butch?
I don't mind going over anything again. I know I go fast a lot of times.
Mike, you've been real quiet.
Which is rare. I'm just telling you, that's a rare thing.
Rare.
All right, I have a question.
Okay.
All of your textures in Bridge, I mean, I have a lot of textures, but they're like in file folders on my laptop.
Okay,
Do I have to put them into Bridge to be able to pull them off?
No, let me explain Bridge just real quick. Let me go back to sharing the screen. Share the screen. We'll share my Bridge screen. That's how Bridge actually works. If you'll notice at the top of this, let's just go to my desktop. I can put anything in Bridge. This is my desktop. I happen to have a picture on my desktop. Now I'm in Bridge. Bridge just looks at whatever folder you tell it to look at.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have a folder here called Manhattan. Joel, we had a little job, a cool job to photograph some stuff in New York last year. And what's the big diamond store up there? Cartier. There's a local Alabama company that, no, that's the ugly one, that does ornamental decorative ironwork. And they hired us to go photograph the fronts of a bunch of their buildings. It's a pretty cool job. And I don't know where it is now, Knickerbocker, Jane Street. Jane Street's a garden. I mean, yeah, so we photographed the gardens for them. Anyway, so just any folder you go to, it looks in that folder and you see the pictures here. I like it because, let's go back to the desktop. So you can just navigate around actions. A while back, I spoke, I'm not sure, I think it might have been Shades of, this is a camera club thing. We were talking about colorizing pictures. And I don't know if this one, and I love it because it tells you the file format. I'm trying to find something original out of a camera here. Let's go back to desktop. In our seminar that I've got here, this picture here is just in that folder. I know it's a camera raw. And down here is all the information about it. I love that. It tells me that I shot it at f11 at 1/80th a second, 2000 ISO. On the date, the camera that I used somewhere in here, it should tell me all that stuff. What lens I had. So somewhere in all here it'll tell me all that. Yeah, lens 24 to 70, 2.8. It was at 30 millimeters when I shot. So everything you want to know about the picture is right there, and you don't have to do anything. Bridge just does this for you. You can actually, in Bridge, you can go in and add what you call it, tags for searching later. And I know a lot of people like Lightroom, and I just use Bridge. It comes with it. It's simple. So, any more that we can talk about?
So if you have, I have Photoshop Elements 2020, and I know you said you don't know a whole lot about that. So if I had textures in a folder on there, how would I get that texture into my picture in the Photoshop Elements?
Same way you get any picture into your Photoshop Elements. I don't know exactly how you do that.
Well, I open up pictures and it opens them up in Photoshop Elements, but I guess, would you go in there and copy the texture you wanted to use on the picture and then go and paste it over it?
Well, first of all, I would open up the picture that I wanted to use, and then I would, at the same time, I'd open up the texture I wanted to use.
Okay.
Then when you have them both in Elements, on the texture, when you do that select all, Control A, and then copy it, and then click back over on your picture and then paste it on top.
Okay.
Yeah. I've just learned how to do the place lately, and I thought that's the best thing I've ever had.
Yeah, that's a good thing. But Cindy, Marilyn uses Elements as well, so she may be able to help you with that.
Yeah, it's really simple. I just don't know where the blend modes are in Elements. I can't help you with that. You're gonna have to do some research on that, how to blend, and it's blending a layer, like a top layer with the bottom layer, if you only got 2 layers. So somewhere in there, I'm sure there's a way for blending pictures together.
There is. I had Elements, and you can't do that.
You can or you cannot?
You can.
Okay, I thought you could. I thought everything I'm doing tonight is just as easy to do in Elements if you know Elements. I get into Elements and I get lost because it's not where I'm used to it being.
Marilyn sent a response, and she said, in Photoshop Elements, you have Organizer, which works like Bridge.
Okay, there you go.
It must be halftime.
I just love the big deal. I only pay $10 a month, which it's a visit to McDonald's or Starbucks, which, and you get the whole program and they update it all the time. The reason, and you get, even with, I don't know if y'all know this, but all the Photoshop products are available. When you buy them or rent them or however you do it, you can run them on 2 different computers. You get licensed for two copies, basically. So this is my, you don't know what I'm pointing at, but this is my little laptop that I hardly ever use. And that's the reason the version I have on here is a little different. That's why I couldn't find a few things, because I haven't updated this in well over a year. Whereas the one in my office, I update somewhat regularly because it's free to update them. It's just annoying because you have to wait for it to download and all that.
How many textures do you think you have in your library?
Well, let's look, because this is basically my library. Grunge. I have 161 items, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those are folders with more textures in them. So let me go back to where we were with you.
But you kind of start thinking which one's your favorite.
Yeah, well, I really like that. The one I call New Orleans. There's 2 that I really like. Let me share the screen again and go back to the folder. One here at the bottom that I used to use all the time, and I would use it more, but I made it when everything was lower resolution, so it doesn't have a great resolution now. It's called Wyeth, and I really like the look of that over a lot of pictures. And we honestly, when we print, sometimes we print, I just had a client the other day bought one that was 5 feet tall. So this is a little bit low resolution when you get in close, and then a 5 foot or even a 4 foot picture, it starts to show that it's low resolution, to me anyway. Nobody's ever pointed it out. But this, remember when I said I made the one from the corner of the picture, the painting in New Orleans? Andrew Wyeth is a famous American painter, dead now. And I just went online and Googled his, did a search, say, show me only images, let's say more than 4,000 pixels or more than 3,000 pixels. And I found one, and the bottom corner of it was this little bit of a texture. His brush strokes were so cool. I just copied the picture and just stole that little corner and reproduced. You can see where I didn't do such a great job of patching it all together. But when you do it as a texture, it becomes so unnoticeable. And like I said, this is one of my favorites. I'm kind of into that sort of muted texture. Something like this is from a Whistler painting. That is too. So that's kind of my go-to way to do that. But like I say, I've got 160 something in here. And like I say, the top few are folders. Like I have one called raw material. I was gathering things for that. These are some I actually shot myself. They're called Butch Grunge, and these are various things. I love this one. I've used it a lot. That is a sail on a ship in Williamsburg, Virginia. We just happen to be standing there, and it's a canvas sail. It's got this hole in it that sometimes I leave, sometimes I clone out. It's got the seam down the middle of it, but it's just canvas. And use that. All the others are just, that's apparently something I put something on. But they're textures of things that, pictures of things that I photographed. I think this was my garage floor. And let me go back up. Overlays, what are overlays? These are some that I think I bought. Don't ever use them. I don't know, they're just not for me. And then a lot of these are, anyway, there's several in here. And then this Salih. Anybody ever heard of J.B. Salih? He's a famous photographer. I went to a workshop. That's actually where I learned to do grunges or overlays. And these are some that he gave us at the workshop. So here's some that was wallpaper in I think he said in a hotel lobby, and he's used that as an overlay on some pictures. So it just depends on how funky and cool you want to get with this stuff. You can photograph old, I photographed the inside covers of books that have gotten wet and have stains, and they look pretty cool sometimes. These are some, I always like doing these too sometimes, is I found some really cool writing, and you can lay that over a picture, which I'll do real quick if we got time. Open that
Carolyn
up.
made a note too. She said, also you just open a texture and a picture and can pull it into layers that way in Photoshop Elements.
Okay. You can drag them from one image to the other. Yes, you can do that. If that's what she's saying. This scene here. All right, let's get this picture. Control A, Control C, go over here, Control V. Let's make it small so we can make our, gonna be our texture. Oh, I forget. You know, the new Photoshop, the old Photoshop, if you grabbed a corner, it would skew your picture. The new Photoshop, it doesn't. It does it like this. Where now, the old one, you have to hold down the Shift key.
Oh, we're seeing your bridge.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go back to share screen. I'm over here just working away. I don't know what the two differences in these are. Let's do that. All right. Now, do you see that?
Oh, yeah.
What I had done, let me go backwards. It's not letting me go backwards. Control Z. All right. I put the writing over a picture of a beach or out to sea. And then, like I say, I held down the Shift key on this version, made this a lot bigger so it encompasses the whole screen. And who knows, maybe I want to cock my writing and say, okay, apply it. And then we'll do that with a blend mode. Let's do it with soft light. And so you got like this romantic writing over your picture, if you want it more intense. Anyway, that's kind of textures in a nutshell for what I do.
fantastic. I love seeing your photos where
Very
you
good.
use texture. So I appreciate you sharing how to do that with us tonight.
Okay.
And you're always so, generous to share your time with the Truck
Oh,
Photography Club. So we really do appreciate that.
a lot of people who work in photography, like we've done the last several years, always keep it close to the vest or whatever, or it's just a job. I loved photography for years and years and years before I tried to make a living at it. So it's just part of who I am, this whole photography.
We appreciate it very much. Does anybody else have any questions that they would like to ask?
Thanks, Marilyn. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much.
And maybe we can have you back another time to show us another technique or two.
Okay. Did I do color rosin with y'all yet?
We saw it briefly at our meeting when you.
Okay. I know I did. I've done it somewhere, and I didn't know who I did it with. So.
And I would be very interested in learning how to do that too.
Yeah.
I have some old damaged photos, maybe some repair.
I do a little restoration, but I don't claim to be an expert at that at all.
Well, I know your colorizing was really good. So anyway, but thank you very much. And
Thank you.
For those who want to go back and watch it, we'll post it to our YouTube channel for you to catch it, and it'll be posted tomorrow. So I hope everyone has a good night, okay?
Thank you.
Thank
Good night.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.